Looks empty, he said, climbing in. The key was in the ignition, so he turned it, but nothing happened. Dead, he announced. Somebody nicked it and dumped it, Ginger concluded, growing bored already and giving one wing a kick. Rick had unzipped his fly and was urinating against a clump of ferns. Piss is good for nettle stings, Alan informed him, receiving a single raised finger in response. Jimmy had gone to the back of the car and was pressing the release button for the boot. It opened an inch, then stuck. Help me out, he commanded Ginger, the pair of them flinching as the rear window shattered. They turned toward Rick, who had thrown the stone and was now grinning as he brushed dirt from his hands. Fuck's sake, Jimmy yelled. Let's get out of here, Rick replied. Ginger was peering through the hole in the glass. Something's in the back, he announced, waiting until the others had joined him. Looks like a skeleton, Alan offered. Must be a joke or something, Rick said. Doesn't look real to me. Does it look real to you? What does a real one look like, Professor? Jimmy shot back. He was taking photos with his phone. The others dug out their own phones so they could do the same. It's got hair, Ginger said. Hair in a shirt. We should hoof it, Rick suggested. Leave it for someone else to find. He turned away and started scrabbling up the slope. What are you waiting for? He called back down to the others. Ginger and Alan were looking at one another, trying to decide. Then they heard Jimmy's voice and turned towards him. He had his phone pressed to his ear and was asking to be put through to the police. Chapter 2. Siobhan Clarke parked on the access road behind a line of other official vehicles. A uniformed officer checked her warrant card before indicating the route into the woods. She opened the back of her Vauxhall Astra and swapped her shoes for a pair of Wellingtons. Very wise, the uniform said, studying his own mud-caked footwear. Not my first time, Clarke informed him. The back doors of the scene of crime van were open, a technician rummaging for something they needed. Is Hadge in charge? She asked, receiving a nod of confirmation. She gave a nod of her own and kept moving. Hadge Atwell was as good a crime scene manager as Police Scotland had. Clarke's phone vibrated in her hand, an 0131 number. There was just enough signal, so she answered. Hello? Silence at the other end. She checked the screen. Call ended. Clarke didn't recognise the number, but that didn't surprise her. Same thing had happened 3 times the previous day, and a couple the day before that. Wrong number, she'd assumed, but now she was beginning to wonder. She passed 4 bikes. The boys had been taken by car to give their statements at a police station. Their bikes would be delivered later, as long as someone remembered. It took her over 5 minutes to reach the gully. She heard the voices first, then started to see the figures. A couple of thick ropes had been secured to nearby trees. One Socko was climbing out of the gully, hauling himself up with effort, while another was using the adjacent rope to replace him. Survival of the fittest, an officer next to Clarke muttered. Peering over the edge, Clarke saw the car. Much of its camouflage had been removed. Photographs were being taken, the ground around the vehicle examined. Arc lamps were being assembled, hooked up to a portable generator. Early afternoon, but the light was already fading. I'm guessing a doctor wasn't needed. Not as such, the officer commented. Pathologist down there, though. Everyone in the gully wore the same white hooded overalls, but Clarke identified Deborah Quant. Quant saw her too and gave a wave. The figure next to her seemed to ask who she was waving at, and when she replied, he held his hand up in a greeting. A moment later, he was climbing out of the gully, making it look easy. He slid his hood back and held out a hand for Clarke to shake. I'm DCI Sutherland, he said. But Graham will do. You're D.I. Clarke? Siobhan, Clarke said. And you're acquainted with our local pathologist? Clarke nodded. What do we know about the victim? Male,